Hype Network presents.
On this episode of Season 4, let's talk.
It's in the brokenness where you learn to find your peace, So, although there are a lot of storylines where Batman gets over his fear or gets over his insecurities and inhibitions, but if you look at it in a holistic sense, Batman is just a broken man trying to do good in this world.
On behalf of my guest here in the Rajiv Show, we would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hey folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show, and I'm your host Rajiv Doreswamy. And this show aims to help reach out to those who are currently struggling in life and to remind you that life is indeed beautiful when you're inspired to make it your own. My guest today is, of course, David Riley. Wait, did I get it
What's
right?
up, Rajiv?
Yeah.
Yep, you did.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. For all those who do not know who David Riley is, he is an amazing podcast host, a graduate from UB, Mass Communication, and by the bass of his voice, you could actually understand that this guy is an absolute legend on the radio. So, pal, give us a little bit of background about yourself, tell our fellow listeners.
Yeah, so my name is Riley, and I've been working on the radio for how many years? 7 years now, I think. Yeah, 7 years. 2013. That's when I started. What else do I do? I started there on our local radio station as an intern, and I have plans to really apply there after I finish my internship. But there was a slot that came up because the DJ who I'm handling the program now was supposed to leave or was leaving. And they were like, you know what? Since you plan to apply, you're next in line. So that's like the short story of how I got in there. And what else about me? Um, Aside from the radio, I also uh, love to dabble in superheroes, of course, DC Comics and stuff like that. And movies. Yeah. So that's like a basic full profile of what you need to know about me. If you would ask who David Riley is, this guy loves to talk. This guy is a geek, and this guy loves to watch movies. So that's the condensed version of who I am.
Awesome. Awesome. One question that I normally ask is if I were high school friends with you, how would I recognize you if you were in school classmates in high school?
High school friends. Oh God. I was a dipshit, and oh, can I swear?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I was. If you were my high school friend and they would ask you about me, I would tell you, you'd tell me that I've always been really noisy and I'm a dipshit and I'm a troublemaker. So that's how my high school friends would always describe me to be, and my teachers as well.
Like my main definition of that is like, were you ladies' man or were you uh, a jock? You know.
Troublemaker all throughout. Nope,
All right.
troublemaker all throughout.
All right. We would have had fun in high school. All right.
Oh, yeah, man. We would have set fires all over the place.
That would have been interesting. All right.
Right?
Let's get into the four basic questions that I ask my guests. Who is your greatest motivator and why?
You know what? This is actually a hard question. My greatest motivator. Well, it used to be when I started working in the digital marketing industry. It used to be uh, Gary Vaynerchuk. If you know him,
Hmm.
you might
Yeah.
you might have heard of his name,
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk. And uh, he'd always churn out like good shit, like how to hustle and grind, how to do better in your work, or how to just be a good marketer for my career and stuff like that. But eventually I grew out of his philosophy because back then I believed in the hustle mentality, working, just working and working and having no time for rest and stuff. But uh, I eventually grew out of his philosophy, although I still find him motivating enough. But now I think it's the greatest motivator that I have, that I look up to, people that I look up to, is Joshua Fields Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus. I think I've mentioned this in one podcast before that I did. They're the guys from the Minimalists. So
Oh,
they are
interesting.
definitely guys that you should check out if you want to live a more intentional life. They're the ones who taught me how to live more intentionally and not, uh, you know, go with unnecessary stuff and just stick with the things that are essential. And another one is probably Matt Diavella as well. He's a filmmaker, also a minimalist. So basically, my life revolves around, or my life purpose or philosophy revolves around the concept of minimalism. So I tend to gravitate towards people who promote the same things and talk about the same things because, it's where I get value from. So they are my greatest motivators, the minimalists and Matt Diavella, I guess.
Wow, that's intense. Second question is,
Really?
yeah. Second question is, what made you who you are at your level now that you know you look like you're gonna be a legend in a few more years. So from here, like, what made you who you are?
Well, right off the bat, I don't want to think of myself as like a legend per se, because I mean, it's cool when people call me that. I mean, it's not a something that I'm irritated at. But personally, it's like what made me into who I am now is probably because I think the experiences that I had prior to like becoming a minimalist and my journey all throughout until this point in my life are the things that contributed to who I am today. Like as a radio person, as a professional, as a hobbyist, and something like that. And I think one contributing factor to who I am now is the former beliefs that I held on to when I used to believe in religion. And I don't want to go into detail about it, but
Mm,
I grew up in a
understandable.
Christian family.
Mm,
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian family. Eventually, I figured that it's not working for me. It's something that I would carry until I become older. So these experiences that I had, the bad and the good, these are the ones that actually taught me to think about my life in an introspective way. Uh, does this make me a better person? Does this specific belief make me a better person? And to what extent am I willing to hold on to these core ideas in order for me to, become a better and good person? And eventually, I learned to strip away the toxic and the negative um, ideas and concepts and tenets that I learned as a Christian. And then when I deconverted, when I uh, turned leaf and became an atheist, that's when I began to mold myself into someone who evaluates all things critically, scientifically, and always thinks about ways where I can be better and not be an inconvenience to other people. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, that's true.
Like, it's not something that would hinder me to be of just be a genuinely good person without the need for
Pro-
religion. So going
Societal
back to your
improvement.
question,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So going back to the question, what made me into who I am now? It's my former beliefs. They made me better. I don't believe them in them anymore, but they helped me, um, transform myself into this Riley person
That,
now. I can't say that I'm perfect, but
yeah.
at least I know that I am in a better place mentally, spiritually, psychologically.
Wow. That's just interesting right there. This is a little bit of throwback question. If today was
Uh-huh.
yesterday, what would you keep and what would you let go of?
Like today, yesterday, like
Yeah.
June 20 something, or like yesterday.
Yesterday, like
Uh,
something from the
I
past that you would
think
like to keep.
uh, I don't know, because most of the things that I had in the past as someone active in church
Mm,
are still the things that I hold on to now, like my music
mm,
and the way I, the way that I'm good at music. It's what I learned serving in church, like training by ear, playing well. Those are the things that um, people might think you would like to let go, so
mm,
that you won't be thinking about your past that much, or in a trauma kind of way.
mm,
But I chose to keep it until now. So if I would be able to keep something from yesterday,
mm,
it's still gonna be the same things that I'm keeping right now, which is my love for music, and maybe the way that I am in front of people when I talk,
mm.
you know. So I didn't actually let go of some stuff moving forward. I took them and used these things to my advantage, although not in a what do you call this, in a theological way, more of a uh personal growth kind of way. So
Oh,
yeah,
it's
does
like,
that make sense?
yeah, it's like taking the way I heard it is like how you took something from the past that was a negative and turned it into a positive. There's a famous line,
Yeah, something like that, something
yeah,
like that.
somewhat a
Although I
famous
don't think
line
that
from Michael Jordan in his Last Dance. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it.
I
And
haven't seen it.
yeah, the last
No, it's
the last
okay.
of my questions is, what are your thoughts for the future?
My thoughts for the future, huh? Well, I am I'm a person who lives in the now, and someone who doesn't really obsess about the things that I do now that could affect my future. I'm not one of those people who I have to be better at this because in the future this is going to be this and that, or I have to just psych myself up to be this person, or to get to this point in time, or to get point A to point B, so that I will be able to go to point C with flying colors and stuff like that. But I'm more of a realist and practicalist. That's also one of the things that minimalism taught me, is to live in the now and continue building yourself up in the present, let the future take its toll. Although I have like um, a general vision of what my future is going to look like for
Mm,
example, I would definitely love to like die, what do you call that, die as a radio jock, like doing this for 30, 40 years until I'm like old and gray. That's something that I envision myself doing until the future. But in terms of career, I don't want to be a digital marketing person until I die. You know what I'm saying? It's something that um, I think about in terms of a passion for my hobbies or what I do, because I don't think of my radio job as a job.
yeah,
I think of it as a hobby that pays. And if you think about it that way, you're not actually pressured to, or you're rarely going to experience burnout. Although I do experience burnout, but not that much as compared to my regular paying job, you know? So I think the future looks really bright for me. I mean, with all the things that I'm doing right now, the podcast thing and the connections that I'm making with my friends and other new people, you know. So I feel like the future is what your present um, passions and present goals will dictate. Because I'm the type of person who doesn't fret over or obsess over the future, because I would only subject myself to countless worrying and trying to compensate for that intangible view of the future. So I tend to always focus on the present and let the future come after the good things that I do in my present.
Build it as you go, I guess, is what you're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
say.
exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Since you've covered your motivation and your philosophy, let's get into one of our favorite segments, which is the art talk segments. This is where we go crazy.
All right.
Um, First of all, uh, let me introduce my favorite characters that I've done over the last years. I'm a Batman fan. I don't know.
Same here.
Okay, now we're clicking. Now we're connecting.
Mm-hmm.
And my reasoning to the character is I would like to hear your thoughts on him first, and then I will share you my fair share thoughts of why I love Batman.
Okay. Of course, on a more trivial sense, my love for Batman started as a kid. He looks cool. Out of all the other superheroes from the DC universe, he's the only one who has a badass looking face,
Mm,
costume. Dresses as a bat, and as compared to all the others who wear fucking underwear outside. Although he also does that, but get the point. But
yeah.
as a kid, that's how I thought him to be. So he's someone really cool. He has a lot of gadgets. He's just human. He's human, but he has like an enormous amount of arsenal to help fight crime. But as I grew older, I learned to look at the character uh, in a deeper way. Like, he's not just someone who's rich,
Mm,
who has the resources to take down people, take down crime, but he is a lonely, broken man who's just trying to get over his trauma by being violent and at the same time not violent. He's trying to reconcile his past and his future. And he's a character that's always conflicted, no matter how much people would try to defend him as a focused individual, as someone who knows how to control his mind.
mm.
At the end of the day, and at the end of every comic panel, Batman is conflicted. And I have a tendency to uh like associate myself with people who are like that, because uh you know it's in the brokenness where you learn to find your peace. So although there are a lot of storylines where Batman um gets over his fear or gets over his insecurities and inhibitions, but if you look at it in a holistic sense, Batman is just a broken man trying to do good in this world. So that's like the deeper sense of why I love the character so much.
Wow, I love how you added that philosophy on Batman. That's freaking
Yeah, I
deep.
think that way.
Yeah. All right. Before I give my opinion, we'll catch up in the short break, and then let's talk about my thoughts on Batman. All right.
Okay.
If you want to learn something new or useless about the world around you, why don't you try listening to the Banny Podcast Reflushed on Spotify, Anchor, or any podcast app that you use?
All right, folks. Welcome back, and this time I'm here with David Riley, a phenomenal voice, and we're just talking about the art segment,
Appreciate
and
it.
we're
Yeah.
talking about Batman. And this time I'm going to share my thoughts and my insights on Batman as well. Batman is the counterpoint. During my research on Batman, Batman is the counterpoint of Superman. And when you think about
Hmm.
it in the logical sense of colors, the main ideology of what Superman stands for is, if you think of Superman without even having the image, you think about that colorful, that bright. And in
Yeah.
Batman's world, it's more of the darkness side. And how I see it in terms of
Right.
heroes and villains is very interesting because if you look at the rogues gallery of Batman, you got Joker. If you compare
Yeah.
Joker to Superman, they both have color, but they have a different psychology and the different connection. Joker
Hmm.
kills out of fun, but he's a colorful character, and Superman does, colorful, as I mentioned earlier. But if you think about it, it's like a hero version of how you see Joker that creates that counterbalance for Batman. And of course, the other
Hmm.
countless galleries complement strengths and weaknesses for Batman. And it's really interesting how Batman looks at things in terms of he understands the fact that he is weak, but then his determination
Right.
and his goal. And for people who are tuning in, I'm sure they're gonna hate me because I love BVS, the way the portrayal of
Hey, I do
Ben,
too.
yeah,
I do too.
Ben
That's
Affleck,
a masterpiece, man.
yeah, Ben Affleck's portrayal really captured that Dark Knight essence, and that's why I love Batman so much, because of that darkness, that vibe, as you mentioned, that darkness that he has inside of him. And
Yeah.
throughout history, had not been for the creators themselves, it had not been for that, we would have been seeing a Robin sized Batman, which would have been a little bit more awkward than it is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
luckily someone came up with the thing, just color him gray and black and underwear and all that stuff. That's one thing I love about Batman so much. And there's so much that I could cover up about Batman in terms of philosophy, stoic, in fear of danger.
Hmm.
I've never met a person who has that ability to be stoic in times of crisis. Now, speaking of crisis, connecting that to the pandemic, everybody is going crazy. Everybody's killing each other, and I've never seen anybody who's disconnected from the world and just doing his thing. And
Yeah.
when
It's
it
like
comes
no
to,
man's land out there.
yeah, and that's how Batman does his business. I mean, he finishes his work and he does it quietly. Sometimes he doesn't really go out with a bang, unless, of course, he blows up a building or stuff like that. Then that's Batman's territory right there. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's how Batman is, and Batman is an amazing character to dive into. And
Yeah. Definitely.
it's a nice topic to hopefully one day, if we have our next season, or let's have another part, let's just talk about Batman for the entire thing, and philosophy and
Yeah. There's
motivation.
so much. There's so
Yeah,
much things to talk about his lore.
yeah,
His different storylines, his
yeah.
different
He,
facets.
the funny thing about him is he's a class A superhero, and the ironic thing about him is he's just human. I mean, you think about all
Yeah.
the other ones, Spider-Man, Superman, all these guys, they've been bitten, or their weakness is a rock. His weakness is humanity, and his main reasoning
Yeah.
behind it
Exactly.
is very interesting. So yeah, I mean, let's let's have a spoiler-free conversation and continue this in part two. For our
Yeah.
next season, perhaps let's talk about that soon.
That's going to be like 3 hours full of
Absolutely,
insightful talks about that. It's like
yeah.
more than the ultimate edition of Batman versus Superman.
Oh, that's true. With the Justice League also, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but yeah. Anyway, let's move
Sure.
on to our next segment, which is the music talk segment. And you mentioned earlier you've been into music. Like, what are your thoughts on music and how it's changed you? I mean, I'm sure deep down you have some few love songs here and there. What are your thoughts on music, and anything that you could
this is
say
gonna
about
be
music?
this is gonna be funny because I grew up uh loving every single kind of like rock song as a kid because my parents. Not really rock song, but most
Yeah.
of the songs from the 80s, like those are the songs that I also grew up with. So they would play Frale Polipi, and all the other classics like who else? Like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and stuff like that. Uh, but then like as I grew up, I learned to love rock and metal. So if you
Ooh.
would ask me right now, I am someone who loves to listen to metal and rock. Yeah, and
Ooh.
my thoughts about that is that it's very all encompassing. You can use rock to make a pop song. You can dilute it
Hmm.
to uh a certain kind of folk,
Hmm.
or you can even try to use progressions from the rock genre to uh the blues and the jazz genre. And with metal, that's a whole different thing because
Hmm.
it's like very upgraded rock. So it's in metal that I learned to appreciate the beauty of lyrics, because most people would think that whenever a metal song comes on, or a rock metal song comes on, it's just screaming,
Hmm.
and most people won't understand what they're saying. But if you look at the lyrics, man, it's beautiful. It's so poetic. It's so raw. It's real. It's about a person's struggle, or about the beauty of life, or about finding hope, stuff like that. And that's what really that's what really made me connect with the metal genre. So if you would ask me right now, I usually listen to metal, rock, and I use these things to help me acquaint myself with the beauty of their lyricism, the lyrics, the melody, and stuff like that. So that's like my core genres right now. But of course, as a radio DJ, I also have to listen to pop music. So I'm not ashamed to say that I also listen to pop, because if you're a music lover, you have to love every genre, or at least have a taste for each and every genre, like a buffet.
Yeah,
You
that's
you
true.
try your best to try at least every single dish that's there. So that's what I'm doing with my. Although I have a main genre that I listen to, I
Yeah.
also listen to pop. I also listen to the blues. So it's very dynamic and very in range.
I gotta ask, top three by the top of your head. What is the
Oh God.
best metal band that you could think of?
Okay.
Top three.
Of the top of my head, man, this is
Your
suffering
top
right
three.
now.
It doesn't have to be
That's
in
hard.
order. Doesn't have to be in order.
Okay. At the top of my head, Under Oath, Dying, and shit. Uh, oh my God, man, this is a hard question. I guess Metallica. So Under Oath, As I Lay Dying, and Metallica. Those are my top three right now.
Ooh, Metallica. Okay, that's cool. For me, I don't know.
Mhm.
This has been my top. My dad's influence. Top three of all is Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Deep
Oh
Purple.
yes.
These three,
Oh
the
yes. Yes,
Godfathers,
man.
the holy trinity
Amen to that.
of heavy metal. Richie
I swear to
Blackmore,
God,
uh,
Ozzy Osbourne,
Ozzy
man.
Osbourne, Tony Iommi, and
Yeah, yeah,
from Led Zeppelin we got Robert Plant and Jimmy Page,
yeah.
and
Definitely, man.
of
Wow.
course the Mark III of Deep Purple. My favorite of all is David Coverdale, bluesy man, and
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard of that. I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
their music is much more heavier, and they try to change the genre. But of course, Richie Blackmore being Richie Blackmore is one of saying the main reason why I have Blackmore in my personal account is because Blackmore is
Oh, because
Blackmore.
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Ah,
and yeah,
cool, man.
the reason why I love these guys is I cannot go extend since you mentioned metal. I cannot go extensiveness into the deeper, trashy, uh,
Like
doom,
acid or
acid,
yeah,
psychedelic. I
metal.
My
Yeah,
ears cannot really
like Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, Cannibal Corpse, Lamb of God, and all that stuff.
Lamb
I
of
don't
God,
really
yeah.
have the ear for that. The reason why I
Mm-hmm.
like these top three, one is for the case of Led Zeppelin, it's more on the bluesy side. It's just that they've speeded up and they
Sure.
added distortion and Jimmy Page's
True.
mysticism. And then for Deep Purple,
Absolutely.
God rest his soul, John Lord. I mean, the phenomenal keyboard player who passed away a few years ago. I mean, he really brought
Oh
the
yeah.
piano. Yeah, he really brought the piano. And Richie Blackmore, I think he tried to revive it now with his band Rainbow. It's actually phenomenal, the sounding, but Blackmore getting older, and he cannot hit those notes that he used to hit in the 80s, and
Right.
goes crazy. And then
Right.
for Sabbath, I guess the latest album that I love from Sabbath is the 13th album. And for those who are listening, it's I guess you gotta hide the Bibles and all this stuff, because some of the songs are not really songs that you can hear on your regular radio show. And
Yeah.
the lyrics wise for Sabbath is I've been binge watching on Sabbath's first album, and crazy. And then the Paranoid album, I always listen to that album. Those are crazy
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like the music, it's not more about this. It's not about the lyric that makes it influential. It's all about how you interpret it. It's unfortunate. Yeah, I want to address this to people who are watching, that there are a lot of people who've misinterpreted the stories of saying, and unfortunately have taken lives. And I'm not encouraging people to take lives. This is a motivational
Right.
podcast.
Right.
And it's just how you interpret it in such a way that if it covers up a part of your skin that you believe it's saying, it's called, that's how I see it. It's
Mm-hmm.
carried me through the lost years. It's carried all of us, I guess, through our lost years. And the music
Right.
is the music is what it is. It's the art form. So that's the one
Yeah.
thing, I hope you and I agree.
Yeah,
And
man.
uh,
Definitely.
this one also, we just opened up a huge book, which is looks like we're gonna have another two segues for this now. Anyway,
I
we'll
know, man.
yeah, we'll cut this off again, and then we're gonna get into my favorite segment, which I'm introducing, is what inspires you, where you feel free to say anything that inspires you, be it may your thoughts, things that you, if it's personal, don't talk about it, but the simple answer to the question, what inspires you and keeps you moving.
What inspires me? I think it's just about the beauty of living life to the fullest in terms of you experiencing as much as you can experience. That's an inspiration in and of itself. The knowledge that you will fail, you will have victories, you will have slip ups, you will have mess ups like that. Those things, when collected into a single thought, actually inspires me to live more, choose life and stuff like that. Because the very experience of you know life in general, it's something that drives me to be better, drives me to do stuff that I like. It's not just about waking up, working, earning money, and doing things that you love. It's also about experiencing things, and that's basically my inspiration. The experience of life itself in general, like failures, victories, and the middle grounds, and those days when you just feel like, you know, when everything's just like really blank and really mundane. Those are all part of the entire life experience. So that's what inspires me. The experience of knowing that there are so much for or the story that I am writing for my life. So
Wow,
that's it.
that's super powerful. It's very, very powerful. If people want to connect with you, like I'm sure you have a lot of fans there wanting to throw themselves at you. How do they connect at you? How to connect to you? I mean,
Y'all can find
social
me
media.
on Facebook. That's at David Riley 967. That's on Facebook. And on Twitter, where I'm always active, it's David Riley underscore at the end. So David Riley with an underscore. And Instagram is my real name, David D. Rivera, with an underscore again. So that's like David D. Rivera in one handle with an underscore at the end. So those are my main socials. But if not, if you want to look at my professional stuff, the things that I do at work, it's about me, about.me/David D. Rivera.
Awesome. Awesome. With that in mind, I hope everybody who's tuning in learned a thing or two about our guest, Mr. David
I hope
Riley.
so.
Yeah.
I hope
And
so.
thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Thank you,
And
man. Thank
I'm
you. I
looking
love to collaborate with others,
yeah,
and
I'm
it's
looking
always a
forward
pleasure.
for our next coming seasons. I mean, I have a feeling we're gonna have like an entire season, and that's gonna be an interesting take. So, with that in
Oh,
mind,
definitely.
yeah, with that in mind, folks, I hope you had a good time. Cheers, everybody. I will see you in the next episode.